Hey, welcome back to Fake Deep Thinking. Just a group of friends coming together to talk about news, culture, even politics. Let's introduce the crew. We have John,
What's up? What's up? What's up?
we have Doc,
Yo.
Ian in the figurative back,
Ain't no one saw that.
and myself, Eugene. So we got a bit of a short podcast for y'all today because we got some funny topics. One of them, which we're going to start with, is kind of an add-on to a past conversation we had, which was about the Facebook, I think it was Facebook, the Facebook group of people looking for sperm donors.
I was about to say, I was like, this feels oddly related
Similar?
to that.
It
I
kind
hate that they use the same color. It's like the same like consistency and like. I
Yeah,
guess
that's weird.
Is viscosity the right word?
Yeah, it's viscosity. I know exactly where you're going with that.
Yeah.
That's the right
Yo,
word. Yeah.
please, based off today's topics, please, let's just not use the word viscosity.
I got a theme for y'all. I got a
Let's
theme.
take that one off the table, please.
So the first one we're starting with is, if y'all remember the conversation we had a few weeks ago, maybe more, about the Facebook group where women were going around looking for sperm donors. They were doing their own, like, hey, send us your, I guess, resume, and they pick you, they meet up, blah, blah, blah. Well, Target decided to facilitate this group, because apparently this group has gotten... Target has facilitated this group by creating this product called Frida Fertility at-home insemination set. Ian, show it.
It's already on display, I think.
Oh, okay. So let's go through the product. So let's go to the pictures because the pictures are wild.
That's why I said viscosity.
Oh,
Because I was like, bro, why did they go for their likeness?
go for the exactly. Why do they go for the likeness?
It's like in motion. It's like it's about to happen. That's so funny. That one picture's hilarious. Like I know the guy who's making the freaking page for this is
Go back.
So this, I don't
Right
have any data
Stop
to
it right here. Already have this product. Snap a pic for us all to see. What the fuck do you mean? Snap a pic.
This is a weird one, yes.
What?
Yeah, where's the soundboard?
What portion? Like what do you want to pick of? The process or like the finish? An empty syringe? Dog, that's
Nah, they
bad.
want a picture of the kid.
Oh my
In 9
God!
months, man, he dropped the baby boy in there.
This is a picture of the kid. That's crazy, Tom.
So yeah, like I said, I don't have any data to support this, but just the simple fact that they're now starting to mainstream market stuff like this, to me, I don't know, proves, but at least indicative that this community is more prominent than we originally thought.
Did they actually like come out and say that they're making this to support that group or like in any way associated to them?
Well, I'm sure they don't. They're just putting it out there, say, hey, we have this if y'all want it, and I'm sure like
They saw audience and then they tried to cater to it.
100%. So,
but this is like Target made. Like this is a Target patent, or is this something that somebody else made that they just mass produced?
Let me confirm for you because it does say Frida. I'm not sure if Frida is Target related or if it's its own
Frida
separate
does
company.
breast milk too, right? The breast milk stuff.
Ah.
So they operate with fluids.
So let me real quick do some digging. Because it could just be they have like a partnership with Frida.
That might
like
be it.
Target,
Yeah.
and that's probably what's going on.
I feel like I got like somebody.
So Frida is their own actual company. Like they have their own like Frida.com.
Okay.
Where's their about them?
Do they do anything to do with breast milk?
They have it available on Amazon too. I don't know. Let me go look at their other products. They have so for the noses for children's, this dehumidifier for kids. They just have everything for women. It looks like it's a woman's
fertility shop, I guess.
Pretty much, pretty simply, yeah. But yeah, exactly. Yes, that's what it seems like when I'm looking at here. Yes.
It's a $50 turkey baster, bro.
So it looks like Frida noticed there was a community, a
exactly what's
market
going
for
on.
self-insemination, and then Target was like, "We'll sell this."
Yeah. I do honestly think it's hilarious.
Oh, 100%. I saw this and I was like, I want to talk about this. This
Yeah,
is so funny.
this is hilarious. But I'm actually kind of like happy it exists in a weird way because it deters the really weird stuff that they were like talking about, like those
Dude,
people.
How does it deter the weird
what are
stuff?
you
Because you still,
talking
yeah,
about, bro?
yeah, weird. Seriously, what are you talking about?
Not
Do you not
deter as
see?
in like the
Do you
actual
not
like
see? This is a weapon.
it's a weapon.
I kind of
I
see
don't see
John's
how
point
it's
a
a
little bit.
weapon.
I see
But
John's point. It is a
what I'm
weapon.
saying is like
It's a
not deter
weapon.
like the act itself in general, but like it does deter like the really like
Like a turkey
creepy.
baster. Instead of using a
Well, the
turkey baster,
people
you
that
got an
like
actual product to use.
yeah, it's like not as well, it's still gonna be like grimy, but it's like less grimy. You know what I mean? Because now you can choose to avoid the like sleep with somebody that you don't want to sleep with just to get inseminated. You don't have people giving you like a freaking Ziploc baggie of it and stuff like that. Like there's actually like a container and like a process and like there's a tool that can make it at least a little bit more cleaner and like less like I mean if I was one of these ladies, like I'd probably buy it, ship the container, and then be like, all right, here you go. Or just be like, here's the container, go do your thing and then come
Well,
back.
my question to you is, what do you mean by container? Do you mean the syringe? Because the container you're looking at, that's not a container. It's a cup used to ejaculate in, and then you got the syringe to
Well
take.
Sword and shield.
that's what I mean. It's like a it's basically just a tool set for the deed, and so like just send that little cup, or if you have like a local like donor, then just give that cup to them, and then like
Well, there is a
use
lid for this technical cup, so I guess
yeah
you're technically right. There is a lid for it. It's like either you send the syringe or you send the cup.
yeah.
Remember that episode where we talked about Drake putting hot sauce in his condom?
Yeah, I do.
This is a weapon for those type of women.
That's what I knew where you're going with this. 100%. I knew you're gonna. That's where you're going. That's why I was like,
This
I
is a
agree.
weapon.
100%.
You
This
think the woman would like I
pour
don't
the
know like
condom contents into the little thing, so use the syringe and put it in their pum pum.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
oh
Yep.
Or they don't even care if the baby come out halfway retarded, as long as the baby
The
daddy
baby
is
comes
a
out. Yeah.
millionaire.
Yep.
And like they don't even
Yep.
fucking care.
I don't know if this is accurate word, but this is the word that comes to mind. This feels dystopian to me.
There's a lot of
hmm.
emotion taken out of this right here. Like
That's
there's
what
a
I'm
lot.
saying. That's why I say it's dystopian. Like, what happened to the normal means of making babies? Like, I understand, like, I don't know. Again, like I said, I don't have the data to prove this, but I would assume that the group of women that are using this type of avenue tend to be lesbian based off the Facebook marketplace. That's what it seemed like. It was majority lesbians doing this.
Two
So
of the two of the lesbians saying, "Okay, bitch, it's gonna be your last dick. It's gonna be the last one. Just take one more dick. We can have this baby and keep it pushing." That's stupid.
so I'm trying to be careful here because like
I'm not.
I I don't know how a right way to say this without sounding insulting or controversial, but I just find it weird that specifically women, but it also applies to gays too. I think they're all gay though. I think the word whatever want to have kids when the lifestyle you live don't bring about kids. I just think that's such a disconnect to me. How can you choose a lifestyle that literally does not procreate, but then you still want to go through procreation? I that just seems like such like how do you reconcile that? It just seems weird to me. Like how can you as a lesbian or even as a gay couple still want to partake in procreation when your literal life choice is against procreation? That's what that I
The
just have
way I
trouble
would
understanding that. I have trouble
the best
understanding
way to
that.
describe it, Gene, is this shot that I took may be affecting my filter, but
This shot made the effect of my filter.
there's a difference between a gardener and a landscape. They would be landscaping. A man and woman procreating and raising that child would be an actual garden or gardener. Somebody just trimming the hedges and taking care and doing all the shit after. That's a landscape. So I would say
But it still doesn't answer my question, or at least give me clearance. Like it's still like I completely understand your metaphor. I just
I
don't.
don't think it's.
I
I
generally
don't
don't
think they.
understand it. Is all. Like I guess I need like someone on
Well,
in the
I think,
community.
I
I
mean,
don't get
They
it.
look at it that way. Is what I'm saying.
I
That's
think
fair.
just by like given the terminology you use to describe it, like that's where the disconnect is, because you say it's a chosen lifestyle, but a lot of gay people will probably argue that it's something that they can't choose. It's just something that they are. And so at
It's
that
okay.
point,
With,
like if it's
but it
Fair.
comes with what they are, though.
Yeah,
So, like, if
that's
we're
my
not
point though.
denying what you are, we're not talking about taking away any of your like your beliefs or as far as what you are and what you represent.
Mhm.
But what you are physically does not allow for procreation.
But I think
So,
at that
like,
point you also have
it
to,
also doesn't mean they should be banned from raising kids.
yeah, of course. I just think that there's also like another, I guess, like avenue that we have to get to where it's just like, okay, if this is the way they are, does that take away their paternal instincts? Does that take away their maternal instincts? Like, and at that
Are they
point,
giving
like
gay kids?
that gets a little bit different. You know what I mean?
Exactly, which is a fair point because actually, if you look at divorce stats amongst lesbian couples, it's a lot higher than heterosexual
You
relationships.
know, two girls
And
are not going to get along.
and in of those divorce stats, I'm not 100% sure on this, so take this with a grain of salt. The
There's
reason
nothing
for
wrong
Most
with that.
divorce
domestic
is
violence too.
they do have the most domestic violence, and the reason for the divorce. And again, take this with a grain of salt, 'cause I'm not sure on this, so I might be speaking out of my ass here. The reason why is because some of those couples, when they decide to adopt or go through this, if they go through the insemination process, even when they introduce a child into the mix, depending how they introduce that child, one thing that does come to light is that maternal instinct. And apparently, some have cited, I don't know how prevalent this might be, if it's prominent or if it's a minority, is they don't feel that the other role on top of the maternal, you have the paternal. So the maternal instinct is not being balanced out by the paternal instinct. So therefore, they're having this disconnect when it comes raising the child, and it leads to divorce. I don't know how prevalent that is when it comes to divorce, but it is something that is a factor. And that's why I come back to, I don't understand how you can live this lifestyle, still want to procreate, but your literal lifestyle is not very conducive to procreation, because in my opinion, you need that balance of maternity and paternity. You need a masculine and you need a feminine. We don't really have too much data on both masculines and both feminines. But we do know you need two-parent households. What we do know is you need two-parent households. What we don't know is the dynamics of that two-parent household. And that's why, for me, I just think it's interesting that you have couples who cannot procreate, but still want to engage in procreation. I just literally, it's hard for me to understand that mentality, because it could be a bias, because do have a certain assumptions on why you want to do it. And I don't want to get into that on the podcast, to be honest with y'all. But I just don't understand it. I would like someone that's part of the community, I guess, explain it, because I literally don't get it.
I would agree. Honestly, I think it'd be an interesting conversation to have with somebody that's probably going through like the situation or even trying to make the decision.
Because this is weird. If you're buying this tool to go through procreation, it's like, bro, just have sex with somebody of the opposite sex. You're literally good. You don't need to go through these steps. This is weird. That's why I use the word dystopian. Like, this is weird.
It's definitely divergent. But what I'm kind of thinking about with, to me, like in my head, it's just like when the child's born, like if say it's like a same-sex marriage or something, like do both people either become paternal or do both people become maternal, and then you have two like maternals or two paternals. But then you also have to like think about like the personas. Like, what if one of the lesbians has a masculine persona, and at that point, like,
is that enough though?
Yeah, exactly. Enough? That's what I'm wondering too. I'm just I don't know. Like, that'd be like an interesting experiment. Like, obviously, like I don't know if people would actually volunteer to have some kind of study done to them because it's invasive, but it's just like
super invasive.
It would be interesting to learn.
Using Splenda sugar. It's like using
I would agree with that personally.
I do kind of see like a selfishness to self-insemination where it's just like, oh, I want the baby to have my blood, or I want the baby to look like me, even though like I want to stay lesbian, or I really would only be like lesbian because I don't really work the other way. But I mean, it's just
they're creating artificial wombs now, so it could go the other way.
I do see it. I do see it a little bit selfish because like I have no problem with a gay couple adopting a child because a child needs a home. Like, and it's like it's not like every orphan child is going to get a home. You know what I mean? So if they're willing to take on the responsibility to give one a home, that is like a cross that they're choosing to bear. You know what I mean? And so I have no problem with that because it's just the kids need home, like period. Like, so with this one, I definitely do see it as a little bit more selfish, like I was saying.
And to take a little bit of the limelight from like lesbian couples and gay couples, I also feel the same sentiment to single mothers because there are a percentage of single mothers who decide to be a mother without the incorporation of a man. Like some women, again, there's probably minority women, but they do exist of women who decide to go to sperm banks and become a mother without any male involvement. This right here facilitates that. And I also, same sentiment towards that. That is weird. Why do you as a woman want to completely circumvent the whole process of getting pregnant and being a parent? And I just think that's weird. The arrogance, and you even I'll piggyback off you with the selfishness that you can be a parent by yourself, like the arrogance in that. And I think that's why, again, I use the word dystopian, that this facilitates this. Again, it's probably going to sound messed up. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it facilitates this gay couples doing this wow, the word I've used it several times to escape me. Procreation. It facilitates this alphabet community procreating, and also single mothers, even probably single fathers too. I doubt they're that prevalent compared to single mothers, but they could if they wanted to facilitate this single parenthood that's obviously a problem in society. Like I don't know. I just think it's weird. I don't know. Instead of promoting families, we're promoting do-it-yourself insemination kits. It's wild. Just promote families and it'll solve itself. It'll literally solve itself. Because if you create a family, guess what that means? You're going to have sex. What happens when you have sex? You're going to have kids. It literally, like, it's a process that does, like, works on its own. Like, you don't need to do all these extra weird steps. That's why I keep coming back to the word dystopian. It's weird. We're trying so hard to get away from biology to have our own.
It's the first process.
I don't know. It's very weird to me. I don't know. It's dystopian, like I said. I keep coming back to that word. That's the only word that comes to mind. It's super dystopian and it freaks me out.
$50 is wild for something you don't get multiple uses out of.
Oh, I could probably 3D print this for less.
I don't know why that made me laugh, but that's funny.
Yeah, it made you laugh. He's talking about 3D printing fertility syringes.
Yeah.
Everything too. The cup, I could probably 3D print this cup, 3D print this syringe.
Short this company, man. It's like, I'll 3D print it to like $15.
Actually might give me an idea. If this market exists and this is that demand, I'll find a way to 3D print this. I'll create this on my freaking what's it called? Design app.
Capitalism. You see how capitalism changes?
Yeah, right.
I mean, Doc's got a valid point. Or was that John who said that? They're charging $50 for this. I can undercut this by half and probably make a profit.
That's crazy. $50 is crazy.
All right, this is wild. Anything else to say? I think I said my piece. I probably spoke too much on this. I'm sorry.
Oh man,
Look, only one left. There's a demand for this. Only one left. I just saw that. That's wild.
I think we just saw it go down from 2 to 1 in real time.
That's funny.
Ready to pick up within. Well, it's in your area for ready for pickup.
Oh well, probably should have fixed that because now they know where we live.
Damn.
Look at that. Look at the key sentence right there. Only one left. That's crazy. That's crazy. Only one left is crazy. And it got 4 stars. I wonder who didn't like it.
220 reviews. Ian, click on the reviews.
I wonder what their complaint.
Right.
Yeah, click the reviews.
Yeah, I forgot.
Wait, check the names.
We don't care about
have
4
real
stars.
names. Okay, they don't have real names. Cool.
All right, so first one is a 1
Product
star. I identify as female and attempt to use this product on myself to get pregnant. It didn't work. Faulty product. I'm not gonna lie to you. The fact that you said identify as female makes me question whether or not you really are female. Is that wrong?
The fact that you think that the process failed you when chances are it just didn't work that time. It has nothing to do with the product. It's a syringe.
And as a girl, I feel like
you're taking this seriously. No, that's not a troll.
It might be a troll. It's true. That's
I
true.
want to see some suggestions. What
Here's
does
the
it say?
5-star. Great,
Overpriced.
great. Overpriced. I don't need no mans. Ian's got a point. Some of these might be troll. That's wild. I don't need no mans. After we wrap this things up, I took the
Great, but
leftover
some
magnum to the back.
suggestions.
That's what I'm talking
Okay,
about.
read this one. This is definitely a troll, but goes to John's point that I don't need no man's one. So me and my weekend vibe decided we was calling it quits, but before we bounced, we thought, why not hit it one more time? After we wrap things up, I took the leftover magnum to the bathroom, used that little syringe that comes with the kit. Fast forward 9 months, and he's stuck with me for a good 18 years now. About to treat myself to a fly set of nails. That's obviously a troll, but I mean, it speaks to the point John was making.
You see the one that says suggestions though? It's like to fill the canister, it takes about 3 to 4 minutes.
Please go up, Gene. I'm
I
talking
was
about
like, what?
the great but some suggestions. This one, yes.
Where's the great?
That's it right there. Yeah.
I think that it's amazing. My only problem was that I wish it had come with a wipe to clean the cup edges as a force the next potential dad
Oh
up to
my
hang over the edge while
God.
we try to fill it. Which takes 3 to 4 minutes. 3 to 4 men. Which
God,
takes
the
about 3 to 4
logistics.
men to fill it up
The
for one attempt.
logistics.
Unfortunately, the lid isn't.
Oh my
Time out.
God.
Hold on. Time out. Does that mean they have different men in the same cup? So they just got like a concoction, like
I don't think you're supposed to do it
Russian
that way.
roulette? Is that what that?
I mean,
No,
they
wait,
probably
what?
did that way, but
Reread
I don't
that.
think that's in the
Read that
instructions.
again.
I'm pretty sure in the
Read
instruction
that.
it says use the same dude.
All right.
Hold on.
My problem was that I wish it
This
come
is
with a
amazing.
wipe to clean the cup. Hang over the edge while he tried to fill it up, which takes about 3 to 4 men to fill for one attempt. See, that's what it doesn't specify if they had 3 to 4 different men or the same men 3 to 4 times to fill it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like
I don't know.
Bitch at an orgy?
this is weird. This is weird. This is weird. Weird. This is weird. All right, I'm good. Any last takes? I'm good. Any last takes? I said my piece. We got a lot out of this than I
Comments
thought
are
we
always
would,
the best
honestly.
parts.
You said what?
The comments are always the best parts of all these things.
100%. All right, let's move on to some more disgusting on-theme topics, which is recently I came across this. I sent it in the group chat, and now I was like, we are 100% talking about this because we've talked about similar topics. If some of y'all who have been tuned in, which is about a woman selling her farts, a woman selling her bath water. I'm pretty sure a woman selling other things, but we've gotten to the point of this famous Twitch streamer Amouranth selling her vaginal yeast to create beer.
That's your question. Can we not use the word yeast more than 10 times?
I'll do my
you.
best, but I make no promises. I will do my best, but I make no
Begging you.
promises.
I can't hear the vaginal yeast too many times, bro.
All
That's
right.
crazy.
So we have Twitch streamer Amouranth has partnered with a beer company to produce a new drink, which is going to contain her vaginal yeast.
Oh, so this is actually going down.
This is actually going down. This is a thing.
Oh, I thought it was like a conversation that was happening, some emails being shared.
Contracts have been signed. Contracts have been signed. Former Twitch streamer Amouranth recently opened up about getting approached by a beer company who are willing to make a drink with the help of her vaginal yeast.
Did they make the offer, or did she? What? Like, did they be like, "Hey, by the way"?
It said they approached her, so I would assume they made the offer, and she obviously was like, "Oh my god, yes." Sorry, I do it in that voice because I just can't see her as anything else. Social media star Amouranth recently opened up about working with a beer company who have decided to make use of her vaginal blank to produce a drink. I'm trying, John. In the interview, she said, "I'm actually." In the interview, she said, "I'm actually working with beverage company. It's not my own. I'm still doing that project. There's a beer company. They're European. They want me to send in my vaginal blank. Like, basically, like Pap Smear myself. They want to make beer using my vaginal blank, like the same profile, I guess," she continued. "At the moment, it is unclear when the product will be out for sale. OnlyFans model has sold fart jars in the past." See, we talked about that. We've talked about that.
Oh man, that's funny.
Amouranth is known for unique ideas, and this would not be the
I told
first.
you was dumb. She's supposed to take a shit in the jar and just transfer a little bit of shit into each jar so it has a lasting. Because she almost died farting herself to death, ain't it?
That
Is
was a
this her?
different.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no,
fine.
different one.
Okay.
Same type of woman though, in my opinion. So I wouldn't put it past Amouranth doing that too, in my opinion. All of them, same type of woman. Is a type. What are the type? You want to ask? Hey, Gene, what type is that? Jezebels. Jezebels.
Jezebels.
Harlots.
I'm not gonna lie. I
Harlot.
don't think I even know what that word
Harlot.
means.
It's a woman in the Bible. Basically, I don't want to get into it.
I'll
So
look it up.
Amouranth, pretty much. So Amouranth is known for unique ideas, and this would not be the first time for her to sell something out of the ordinary. In the past, the Kick streamer has sold fart jars and bath water. Undoubtedly, it managed to make her a lot of money. How much was it? Like 50,000 a month or something like that? Do y'all remember? It was something crazy. It was something crazy. With a new item being added to her list, she is certain that it is going to make her good money. She said, quote, "It's hilarious. People will buy it for sure. I don't know if they'll actually drink it. I mean, they'll probably drink it. They're going to drink it. They're going to drink it." How is the drink created? Oh, do I want to read this? The beer drink, which is called the Order of Yoni. What the
Why did she go with that?
is made using lactobacillus bacteria. The official website notes
We call it pussy water.
the gynecologist collects a vaginal smear from the models. The smears are taken to a laboratory where the bacteria are isolated, cleaned, then analyzed and multiplied. At the end of the process, the bacteria are used to produce the pure lactic acid that goes into the yoni beer.
Sounds good.
Why they gotta call it a smear?
Because that's the process. It's the process. It's like you got a petri dish thing. They take the thing, they smear it on there. So they call it a smear because that's the action you're doing is smearing it onto the petri dish plate. So it's called.
It's really pussy butter.
That's
Yeah,
worse, man.
Yeah.
The
Yo.
Order of Yoni.
Dude, I said this before the podcast. I'm gonna say it again now that we're on the podcast. This is some demonic, evil ass shit, in my opinion. Like, this is straight up a demon trying to do some evil shit in the world. I think she's a demon 100%. She is a succubus.
What are those things that you light that have a scent?
The
What are
candles,
they
the
called?
scented candles,
No, it's like a stick.
Oh, the incense.
the incense.
Incense. Everything I do has incense that's supposed to smell like her pussy. Sells out 10 minutes every time.
They might do that, man. Just like everything around it.
I've seen a nigga on
I
YouTube.
mean, I will look up what the Order of Yoni stands for. Maybe Gene is right, but I mean, I don't really think so. I
Yoni-
just think she's
Yoni
fucking
means-
we
scary
know
as
what
fuck.
Yoni stands for, so
Yeah, we know what-
direct
I'm about to
using
say,
context
yeah.
clues.
Yeah, we
Really?
know what yoni. Yeah, yoni means the
The yoni
vagina
beads.
area.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Is
Yeah.
that like some slang or is that like a word?
I
Yeah,
feel like spiritual bitches call they pussy yoni.
100% they do. But let me look up the actual definition for you. So yoni, a stylized representation of a vulva worshipped as a symbol of a goddess or a shakti, the female organ of generation or a symbol thereof compared lingam, the symbol under which Sakti or the personification of the female power in nature is worshipped.
Okay.
Yoni.
Okay.
Demonic stuff.
No, man, I just think she's
A
just
demon.
fucking profiteering.
I think
Okay,
she's
how would you
possessed. She's
feel?
a demon.
How would you feel? And this isn't even in the drink. How would you feel if a girl walked up to you, grabbed your beer, put it against her pussy lips, and then gave it back to you?
I'd be upset. What do you mean?
Oh yeah, dressed it in Yoni? Yeah.
Like, dude, what are we talking about?
I mean, I
Whoever
would
drank
drink
a
it. I
beer,
would be like, what is
whoever
that?
drank a beer, whoever drank a beer and put it down and say, you know what? This beer's missing pussy. Like, who's ever said, like, man, this beer has everything but that pussy flavor that I'm looking for? That's disgusting. Ugh. Then it's not
So,
only pussy flavor. You're not gonna
hard
pretend
question.
she's not getting fucked.
Hard question.
Somebody
Hard
fucking
question.
her.
Hard
Somebody
question.
fucking her. So
Do you
it's gonna
think
be
this tastes good?
dick,
I
and
don't know. I'll hard question follow you up. Would you taste it to find out?
No, I would not. I'd ask. I would trust the people that say yes or no. It's good. I'd be like, it's good. I trust you. I don't want to know. It's bad. I trust you. I don't want to know.
you can't pay me.
You couldn't pay me.
Couldn't pay
Exactly.
me.
You couldn't pay me.
I feel like people will buy it. If anything, like streamers will buy it just to have the can like on the like table while they're streaming, just to be like, hey, get some fucking clout points. But
So
I'm
Is
sure
this
there'll be actual people who buy it to drink it too.
100%? 100%. So my question
It's
now is:
probably a collector's thing.
is this the same or a step up when it comes to eating a girl out? Because you could argue if you're eating a girl out, you're basically tasting her, her vagina. So
But
why
wait, if
can't
a
you? Why
nigga
can't you
drink
just drink
that,
the beer?
so if a nigga drink that, is he cheating?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say yes.
I don't think so, but I think his
You're
girl would look at it
tasting
weird.
you're tasting another woman's
You walk in the
vagina.
room
You
and nigga like,
100% cheating.
Is that the line? Is it fluids that draws the line?
Well, the
you
whole
walk in the
point.
room, the nigga in the restroom, like, what the hell?
His wife's like, "Are you drinking a yoni?"
Are you drinking yoni?
I mean, my
Pervert.
sentiment is you're drinking another woman's vagina, technically speaking. So that's why I think you could draw the line to cheating. So maybe it's a thin line, sure, but I think the line's there. Is it a loose form of cheating? Sure, but I would.
You know, loose forms of cheating.
It's a
If
Because
public
I
let me
form of
come
cheating.
if
home.
my girlfriend got mad at me for drinking this beer and she argued cheating, I wouldn't have a rebuttal. I'd be
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
I'd
That's
be
fair.
like,
That's
yeah.
fair. Yeah. If she
Yeah.
said that,
Like,
I'd be like, "All right, yeah, that's fair enough." But like, if she didn't, I'd be like,
You know what
"Eh."
that's the equivalent of? That's the equivalent of you coming home and there's a nigga at your crib and your girl's making a drink and she's like, you're like, who's this nigga? And oh, he's just here to mix my drink. She takes his dick out and mixes the drink with his dick and then sends him on his way and drinks the fucking drink. She's like, oh
pissed.
yeah, it's not, no
I'd be
big
pissed.
deal. I
I'd
just
be
needed his dick
pissed.
to mix the juice so I can have it. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? That's the same as dick in a cup. That's
Oh, I'm
exactly
hot.
what that is.
I'm
That's
hot.
bullshit.
I'm sweating.
Nigga, no.
It's definitely counterculture, but I don't know.
That's
The lines happen.
I feel like this is a line that we need to stop crossing with the farts, with the bathwater.
we need to
Like,
have this line and let people cross it. We just can't let them come back after they cross it.
Yeah.
but what do you
Keep
mean?
them.
What do you mean by come back? She's doing fine. This girl's a
Everybody who
millionaire.
buys this shit
She
should be put on the sex offenders list.
That's fair. You know what? I think that's actually fair. I think it's not her, it's the people buying this stuff because they're 100% sex offenders,
With or
pedophiles,
without her,
rapists, anything like that. Those are the type of men that would buy this, in my opinion. I just,
Yeah.
that's weird.
She's definitely unapologetic about it. Like she's just like openly throwing like this, I guess like the sex
didn't
symbol
start off
out
like
there
this,
just to
did
be
she?
like, let me just make money off of it. I saw like a clip of her or something like that, and it was like a highlight, and she starts talking on her stream for like 10 seconds, but she has like her hoodie like zipped up all the way, and she's like looking at the camera of herself streaming, and she's like, "Oh, I almost forgot," and then she like zips down her fucking hoodie to show her tits, and she's like, "Okay, let's continue this stream." And I was like, "Yeah, she doesn't care. Like she leans into it hard, man." But her community like basically leans into it with her, so she's gonna monetize them.
Of course, it leans into it because a bunch of horny boys, probably either horny young men or horny teenagers or horny boys. Like I 100% stand by my opinion that she's a demon. She's a succubus.
Mm,
If she's not possessed,
She's a
then she's
ginger.
I mean, but like, what? My issue is when like
that's fucked up.
you just let them do what they're gonna do. Like you're not part of the demographic that like she's selling this to, and
See, but that
so
I disagree with that, and I don't disagree that I'm not demographic. I'm obviously not the demographic, but I disagree with the notion of let her do what she wants to do because the simple fact that she's corrupting the youth, the minds. Like, who are the what's
Even
the
her
average?
idea.
You said what?
Wasn't even her idea.
I
You
can't hear
need
you.
her
Yeah.
idea. Her idea
It wasn't her idea.
wasn't her idea. I mean,
Oh,
that's
that could
fair.
be it too. Yeah, it
I
could be
mean,
like some kind of promotion.
that's fair. It wasn't her idea, but I'm not attacking specifically the beer. I'm attacking more so like her, I guess
Yeast.
her, I guess her image or how she portrayed herself, the market, like her fan base maybe, or what she does, like how she sells herself, I think is wrong. And that comes in my opinion about sex work as a whole. And I think we've reached a point in society where we have normalized sex work, which I think is wrong. And this is an extreme example of the normalization of sex work. Sex work has become normalized. So therefore we have women out here selling their farts, selling their scented what their vaginas smell like, scented incense, whatever you call them. Vagina beer. Like, this is wild that we have a society, a culture that thinks this is okay. And the only reason why this is okay is because kids are growing up with this stuff and we're allowing it. Her fan base are nothing but children. I'm sure they can't go below 18, but I'm pretty sure her fan base is nothing but 18 to 24-year-olds. That's the age range. And if you get more accurate, I bet you it's even younger. That's a problem. And if you can't say that's a problem, then that to me proves it's a greater issue than what we think it is.
But do you really think it's the majority of society that leans into this?
I'm not saying it's a majority, but it's a percentage that is a problem. It may not be half, but it's probably around 20 to 30%, and that is a problem.
Because I genuinely think the reason this article is up here isn't because it's like happening all over the place and it's just a rampant epidemic. I genuinely think it's because it's like a plane crash. Like, it happens so very little that because this is happening, it's making it to the front page, and it's just like,
sure,
apparent.
completely. That's fair, but you got to think about the repercussions from the plane crash. Let's look at the steps before our society became so normalized to sex work. Porn. No one wanted to advocate they were a porn star. No one wanted to admit they watched porn. Next thing you know, let's say Pornhub came into existence. You could go on Pornhub and you have access to like crazy clips now. Like, because when I was growing up, when you watch porn, because I wasn't paying my cheap ass. I was cheap then. I'm still cheap now. Like, I'm not going to pay for a porn website. I had to get the free 30-second trailers, and that made me fine. Now you got Pornhub, but you could watch like 30-minute clips. It's wild what it is now. This man called me a speed racer. Now you got Pornhub, which you have access to crazy clips. So that then created another cataclysm, another plane crash, which caused a ripple in the effect. Now you got OnlyFans. Now you got free market people, entrepreneurs. I'll make my own content. That repercussion ripples. Now you got people openly doing on Twitch streams, practically half naked. Another ripple effect. Selling farts, ripple effect. Incense, ripple effect. Beer. When are we going, like my point I said when we started this, when are we going to draw a line? Because the more we start being flexible with this line, the farther and farther we get from wherever this line needs to be. Like, that's my only point, is it gets harder and harder. It gets like, it won't stop. It literally won't stop. It's the beast, this progressive beast. It's growth and progress for the sake of growth and progress, damned where the direction goes. I think that's a problem.
Well, so compare it to tradition where you live in a society where sex is extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, suppressed. Do you think that society was also healthy? Like,
well, my question also is to what we got to draw these parameters. What classifies sex as being suppressed? When is it sex being suppressed?
So
like,
you
can I openly express my sex in that suppression? Like, I can't express my sex openly in that suppression? I would disagree with that. But if that's suppression, then I think that's a wrong purview. Like, what's suppressing sex? Like, what is that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can have a society where sex is too suppressed, like to the points where people aren't willing to ask questions because they're afraid to ask questions when it could help them, when it could save them from having an unwanted childbirth, when it could save them from getting a disease or something like that. But they
Fair.
feel it's so taboo that they can't ask the questions.
Fair.
You can have people that have sexual urges but feel so suppressed or so bad about these urges that they hate themselves for even having them when it's just a natural thing that's happening to them. So, like, yes, technology is rampantly making sex just casual,
Extremely casual.
but I don't think going all the way in the opposite direction is also the answer. Like, clearly, like,
I'm not saying going the opposite direction. I'm saying we never had the conversation to begin with. We went from sex being suppressed, which I to a degree agree and disagree with, to suddenly being like, everything's open now. You can be, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. You can be gay, lesbian, you can be transsexual, you can make beer out of it, you can make candles out of it. Like, it's like we went from having no barriers we're having barriers to no barriers. Like we never ever address like should there be a middle ground. We just completely skip so many steps. That's the only thing I'm pointing out to is we need to have a conversation about what is the appropriate limits because there should be limits. I think at least. I don't know if you think that.
I think the run towards where we're at was a reaction to being in a suppressed sexual society. Like I generally like me growing up, it was just like you don't really talk about it, you know what I mean? Like you have like a sex ed class here and there, but like for the most part, like you just kind of deal with it as you're experiencing it.
Can
And
I
it was only
challenge
like
that then?
once well, hold up. It was only until I got to 18 that it was finally like, okay, like, hey, like just don't have a kid. Literally that's all my mom told me, just don't fucking have a kid. And I was like, all right, cool. And then
So
I just kind of went through it myself.
how was our society sexually suppressed? And I'm specifically talking about our generation. Maybe years back, maybe, but I don't think we can speak on that
I
because we
mean,
literally weren't alive then.
you
But
have
what
you have
Yeah,
people
statement.
with the influence of religion, you know, talking to them, and you also have a society where people necessarily have to, like I said, have to ask questions or feel like they can't ask questions to get to them. I mean, I don't know about your area where you grew up, but I know in my area, like it kind of just, I feel like it happened a lot because people wanted to have sex and they just went for it and they had no guidance in the situation. So they kind of, they just dealt with the repercussions as they happened. And so, I mean, I can't speak for society at large. If I
that's
want to
kind
do
of
that, I can, you know, if I want to do that and say defend a suppressed society, there's thousands of years of religious societies that, you know, offer suppressed sexual society. This is kind of like the first time we've ever encountered like a, well, no, I wouldn't say that because you have like the Romans and stuff like that and the Greeks who like did orgies and all that stuff. So like it's kind of cyclical if now that I'm thinking about it out loud.
isn't it interesting if you think about it that way? Because what led to the fall of Rome, or the
That it wasn't orgies.
no, I'm not saying it was orgies. It was
I was like,
there
dude,
was
they were invaded by the goth. Like,
there's yeah
it wasn't
no,
that.
it was several things that led up to it.
Was
It
it the
was
sex parties?
they lacked it was a lax of everything. They stopped. I don't want to get into the whole like how often you think about the Roman Empire stuff, but you're right. It wasn't because
Yeah.
they were having orgies, but what facilitated them to come to them having orgies. Our whole process is they started to become lax about the certain guardrails they had to keep society functioning, to keep themselves protected. They started to lax those barriers to the point where they were openly having orgies. This may be a wild leap, but that's my point. Is we've abandoned these guardrails that kept us safe
I would
because
argue the opposite because they were having orgies when they were pagans, but when they were Christians, they were in the opposite side, and they fell as Christians. So it's kind of the opposite.
they
Like
felt. What's your point? Like I think you're I don't
you're,
understand your
you're
point because I agree with you. If they progress to this orgy mentality, things fall, even if they're Christian or
no,
Roman. Like yes, I agree
what I'm
with you.
saying is that like they were having the orgies when they were pagans before they adopted Christianity. And then when they became Christians, they became more and more tight about it and they became more and more suppressive about it. And then they lost their empire. I mean, it wasn't because of orgies, but they lost their empire when they were very like, so I'm looking for like devout in their Christianity, but it was because of like economics and politics. And so that's what I'm saying. I disagree with your statement that like they got lax on their morals. Like in fact, what's his name? The guy who fucking helped kill Brutus for killing Mark Antony. Mark Antony was actually outed, even though he was a great leader, because he was dealing with Cleopatra, and Cleopatra was supposedly exotic, like mischievous woman. And his the same things that you're saying right now were used against him to out him out of office, and eventually Octavius took it and made it even more restrictive as far as like it being like a really tight like by the book Christian, you know, that's how you created the Roman Empire. But that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not necessarily saying that Christianity was the reason for the downfall of this empire. What I'm saying is that the orgies themselves like don't lead to that.
My point is when it's accepted on a societal scale, when it's normalized. Yes, there are always going to be people in the back end partaking in these things. You're never going to get rid of it. People wanting to kill each other, to people wanting to have sex with each other. That will never leave us as humans. My point is when you start normalizing it to the point of it's just like, oh, everyone does it, it's fine. And I'm fixating on this one example in our example of the Roman Empire. There are multiple examples that lead up to it. But I'm saying is when you normalize this, it tends to devolve into basically destruction. And I know using this one example is a leap, but I'm just trying to keep it on topic of this because there's several factors. I agree with you. There's several factors, but to keep it on topic with this factor, I think it's one of those factors that help lead to the destruction of society. Is if we normalize degenerate behavior as open sex, just free and open sex. I think that's
I
leads to
do
destruction.
think that like it has an overload on people's like personalities. Like if you become addicted to just like porn, then at that point like you lose the vigor for life, where it's just like, why should I go and make something of myself to attract a beautiful mate? And it's just like when I can just turn on the computer and masturbate. And
That's
so
actually very interesting.
Why would I go find a life partner? I can just go to the Roman orgy every week and just be good. That's my point, though, is you start normalizing this degenerate open sex and I'm not trying to be too biased in my opinions, but it's kind of hard not to be. But you just stray too far away from the norm. And what is the norm? You can have a conversation about that, but I would argue that open sex is not normal. At the very least, I hope we can all agree that this open sex that we all are experiencing right now and that we've seen also in the past, that's why I used the Roman Empire as an example just now, it leads to bad things. So then, if that is true, what is the standard? Jock has a valid point. The extreme purity culture that Christians like to promote might not be the good answer also, because sex is also normal. We have kids through sex, reproduction, procreation. That's from sex. It's normal. It's a good
Act like
thing.
the religious people act like your sex supposed to be clean and nice too. Oh, thank you for this. Thank you for the penis, sir. Like, like they really be in church acting like sex not really degrading. Like, come on now, y'all go home, y'all pray, y'all be fucking. Don't pretend now. Come on. So
Well,
like, I'm with,
if,
I see what Doc's saying.
I do see what I agree. I
I,
see what Doc's saying too.
I think
I
that
get the
like
link that you're putting.
I think that there just needs to be exposure to sex so that there's wisdom that can be given through experience. But obviously like there's a point where it's like too far.
It's a slippery slope because it's
Yeah.
sex, and we all know what sex is and what it leads to and how good it is. So it's like, how do you navigate being informative about sex without it devolving to what sex is, which is basically a pleasurable act? Like, how do you go from let's be educational to without accidentally falling into some other
I
things?
guess I guess by hammering, the only thing I could think of is by hammering in the actual purpose of sex. Like,
I
I mean,
that's a good point.
it won't curb whatever is pleasurable, and whatever you take out of it is what you take out of it mentality wise. But like, I feel like the importance of, I feel like the actual reason for having sex is actually not talked about as
I
often as.
Yeah, when you said it, the light bulb, because I completely agree with you. Because when I think of sex now, people don't talk about sex and it being the literally the act that procreates life. They just talk about it as either a way to make money or what women can provide to me or what men can provide to me. It's literally just the act itself. There's not about the what sex actually is used for, the biological function of sex. We've
Right,
completely gotten away from that. I literally can't remember the last time I've heard someone associate sex and the birthing of baby
right.
outside of this our conversations. Like
I know.
I can't think of it. It's literally just like, oh, sex. I love sex. It's fun. It feels good. I want to have sex. That's literally the only time I ever hear sex. It's
I
not
think
like,
Society addicted to dopamine.
I
yeah,
think with
yeah.
it it's like in my opinion you have to hammer in the morals around having sex. Because I honestly like I don't see anything wrong with people having sex for pleasure. Like I'm not saying like having sex for pleasure in like a I don't know, like a monthly meetup or something like that, or like you know what I mean, like debauchery, like pure, like it's just like complete lust and everything, and then it's just like disgusting. I generally don't have a problem with people falling in and out of love, having flings, having moments of romance and stuff like that, and having sex during that process. I do think though there's an issue when you take the morality out of it. Like if you cared for that person emotionally and it just didn't work out, or like it was just a thing that happened for a summer or something like that, then there you go. But if you take the morality out of it, then you're just kind of capitalizing on it, like what we're seeing here.
But that's the problem, though. That's why I would argue why we're seeing such I don't know if it's a disconnect or at least an imbalance or a struggle, is because what is moral when it comes to sex and strictly speaking, just the pleasure of it? Because you can't, when it comes to sex, somehow feelings get involved either on the guy's part or on the woman's part. Both parties cannot separate sex or emotions from sex. As guys, default on the masculine spectrum, it may be a lot easier for us to disconnect the emotions from sex because we're more testosterone. We're more testosterone, basically, pretty much. Simply, yeah, we're more testosterone. Whereas women, because they're more female, more estrogen, it's they associate emotions with sex. One of the caveats women have for sex is I need an emotional connection with you to have sex. Men, generally speaking, don't have that requirements.
Mhm.
So we're already off default. We both have two different moral foundations to sex. So how can we then navigate this moral dilemma with sex solely for pleasure? It's very difficult. That's why, Christian speaking, they try to appeal or this abstinence, because it's something that I don't want to say you can't do. It's just so extremely hard that you probably should wait, because the odds of someone getting hurt and how they get hurt, like meaning from hurt, how do they react from that hurt? It's just you generally don't know how to react. You have some people, women and men, who commit self-deletion because of how traumatic the experience with the opposite sex was in that experience. Like it was bad. It was so bad that they broke up or embarrassed that they decided to off themselves. Like it's like to an extent, I agree with you that having sex for pleasure, depending how you go about it, it's not necessarily bad. It's just that it's such a slippery slope that I would tell you that you should probably wait before you do it. And that's hypocritical coming from me, because obviously we didn't wait. Like none of us here are virgins. But it's just from my experience. This guy, put your hand down. But I'm pretty sure all of us has a story about from us having sex with a woman, how we've got hurt. Not because we had sex, but because we opened ourselves up so quickly to that girl. Not saying it was because of sex, but the act of having sex, we got comfortable, the emotions got involved, you opened up, you got hurt. Same thing for women. That's why sex is such, I don't know if it's probably wrong to use the word dangerous territory. Maybe precarious territory is better, because I have come to the belief that you literally cannot separate emotions from sex. Someone is going to experience the emotions. Someone always will. You may be able to suppress it to a degree, but if you continue to have sex with each other, eventually someone will harbor emotions, and they will grow and grow to the point where they can't suppress it anymore. And that's when you have the uncomfortable conversation. Hey, what are we? Oh, I thought we were just this. I want more. Okay, I don't. Okay, I guess we're done. Separate. That's not how it goes, but that is usually the events that follow suit, and it's a lot messier.
Between two NPC.
So I get what you're saying. It's just that's too much of an optimistic point of view. It never happens in the best case scenario. It's always the average scenario, which is someone getting hurt. And that's when you have different spectrums of how they handle that hurt. But one thing that's a fact is someone always gets hurt.
You know what I've always wondered, for people that like are able to have sex like the day they get married or the day after they get married or something like that, how do they know what good sex is? Like they don't. They just have sex.
That's fine. Like that's another thing I think is also a
To be
little
okay with going on that journey together and not letting
exactly.
curiosity get the best of like
Even if you have curiosity, explore it with each
temptation.
other. Like,
No, but I'm saying like temptation because it's like, oh, if it's good with this person, that person's probably like, yeah, I think you have to be careful not to put that lens on your eyes where you're looking at everything through a sexual thing. And when it's newly introduced to you, sometimes I think it's hard for.
I feel like that's a difficulty though for people because it's like you have so much. I guess to Gene's point, you have so much sex in the media and around friends and stuff like that. That like whoever you end up choosing, you're just like maybe I'm not having good sex with them.
who
And then
cares? Like this was actually a conversation. Like forgive me, I'm about to reveal some personal conversation with my girlfriend, but that was one of the first conversations we had, which was how important do you think sex is in the relationship? She thought sex was pretty important. I was like, that's wild because I don't think sex is important in a relationship, which is kind of weird coming from me because y'all know me and my how I was. Like, I generally don't think sex is important in a relationship. And we had a conversation about this. I don't reveal too much because it obviously it's between her and I. But I just come from the because for me, that's something we can grow into. If I'm bad at sex, if you're bad at sex, or if I'm inadequate or you're inadequate, that's part of the relationship. What don't you like? What do you like? Let me learn how to do that. Let me stop doing that. What makes it more fun? What doesn't make it fun? Like it's literally, as John said, I agree with that wholeheartedly. It's a journey. That's part of the relationship. And I think we've completely abandoned that because we've focused so much on I
I
just want
mean,
pleasure. I want immediate gratification. I want no attachments to that immediate gratification. And I want to be able to dip whenever I want, which kind of goes to the what I said before, redundancy. But that's why the whole thing is weird to me is because we've normalized sex way too much to the point where it's like there's no morality to it. That's why it's a little bit funny that we're arguing about morality of sex because we currently live in a culture where there is no morality in sex. The only people that have morality in sex are the Christians, the religious people, and we shun them to no end in this country.
I think that's a reaction, like I said, though, of them shunning the majority of the population that wanted to have sex and kind of not be so wound up so tight for I mean what the history of everything like
we
as
see
far as
what
like the Western world.
we see what cultures and the cultures that suppress sex, we see what they actually create in the scene. It's always something that's way more depraved than the sex forward cultures. Like you're talking about Catholicism, talking about Muslim countries. You're talking about those sorts of things where it's like on the surface, yeah, sex isn't like it's repressed. Underneath the surface, what them people's really getting into be be way more fucked up than most of the shit that people are doing in the light.
I do think there's a middle path. There's a point where you're not wound up so tight, and there's a point where you're not too loose. That you're, you know, sloppy.
It's a natural path.
And we gotta have a discussion to get there. And the two people that need to have discussion are on both extremes. You need the sex workers and you need the Christians to talk about it because, to a degree, and I'm not trying to say Doc's on like the complete like sex worker side, but I'm trying to say is like Doc's point, which I think leans a little more on that side, is about a little more openness and uh, yeah, I'd say openness when it comes to discussions about sex and expression of it. And on the other side, it's kind of like, sure, we can be open about it, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes from this because it leads to a life. And because of that, we need to have certain guardrails in place. You may, and depending on the relationship, you may, move around those guardrails depending on who you're with and how you are, sure, but there's a reason we have these guardrails. Because that's because I agree with Doc wholeheartedly. Like we definitely, to a degree, may have been suppressed. I would push back a little bit to our generation being suppressed because I don't think our generation was suppressed at all.
I think ours was the least thus far, for sure.
I think ours was the generation right before it became this super open. If is that fair? Like you're right, we weren't part of this super open sexualized society in our youth,
Yeah, we
but we
were.
were definitely like the generation right before it at the very least.
Well, right before like the advent of
And
like
after,
films and like
right
Pornhub and
after,
like
What are you saying, John?
right after, we're talking Playboy in the 60s. You're talking about the flower children having sex
That's
everywhere.
a fair
You're
point. That's
talking about
actually a valid point.
you're talking about the Freaknik in the 90s where there's a parade of people having sex just walking down
That's
the street.
valid. That's
Yeah,
valid.
so
Yeah, he's
it's
right.
been
We're actually,
it's been
yeah, we're
getting to it now.
we're the beginning of, we're like probably the second or third generation, the beginning of it. So yeah, actually, John's point, we're actually the start of it. We're probably approaching the middle of it, if not like the couple generations before you reach the middle of it.
well, something I also wonder though is how much like technology beaming it into you makes it a thing. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not just technology as in media, because I think you're focusing on media. You got to factor in the technology as in the birth control.
Mm.
Because now technology, birth control, completely negated the repercussions of sex, pregnancy, like having a baby. Now women were allowed to pop a pill, and I don't have to worry about potentially getting pregnant, which helped facilitate the sex movement. Because now you got to have sex with responsibiless sex, or repercussionless sex. Is that a good or bad thing? We at the time we didn't know. But the data we're seeing now, I would argue that it's probably a bad thing.
Yeah, I guess technology in general is changing the landscape of sex. I mean, between people in general. Like you have, you know, a magical mirror that can show you sex whenever you want, and you have access to it. But that's the thing where it's just like it seems more visual than physical.
That's a valid point because
Because we're not having sex. Like, aren't is
yeah,
the data showing that like our numbers are going down and
yeah, the
like
repopulation. Well, that doesn't mean we're having less sex. That just means that the birth control, I would argue, has been
It,
effective.
I wouldn't even say that. I would just say the demographic transition model. I just think we entered stage 5 to where like the economics and everything balances to the point where people are choosing career and stuff over having children. There's a lot of there's a lot of anti birthers.
Yes,
yeah,
yeah,
especially within millennials. I don't know about Gen
yes,
Z, but I know within
yeah.
millennials, it's like I've got to work 2 jobs just to fucking survive whatever the economy is right now. Like, can't have
Germany went
kids.
through the same thing.
Or it's just the
Germany went through
millennials,
the
they don't want
same
to have
thing.
kids. Like, I don't want to have kids. I want to be able to be with my girlfriend or my husband and just either one, play games, or two, go out and travel, or just do
100%.
everything else
Yeah,
besides raising a family. Like, they exist. But
Germany
I would,
went through the same thing, and they had to start paying people to have kids.
I do
yeah,
think it's a weird situation though, where like millennials don't have the options that like the boomers had. Like we don't have options to houses as easily. Like we can't just settle down just as easily. And most people like not only that, but they're also fed with like the I want to be a career person in like a divergent career. I don't want to stick to like a tried and true career. I want to force myself to start a business and be an entrepreneur and stuff like that. And that doesn't have time for a family. So we're doing that, but then like, isn't there also like weird statistics where like men are dating like the least they've ever dated now or something like that? Like,
yeah, I was about to back up your opinion where you said about having less sex. It's one could argue, or one data to support that opinion is men. A large and larger percentage of men are having less sex. I think it's either 1 in 3 men haven't had sex in the last year, and there are more male virgins now than there ever been. So
interesting.
the question.
I'm about to beat
I
my
genuinely
meat.
think that's the accessibility of technology.
But it is, and the reason why is because now women have access to all the men in the world, and it actually is a testament to women's dating habits.
No,
Oh
I
yeah,
actually
I
agree
think I've heard
because
about that.
I
So
remember
because
sometimes I remember being younger and maybe I was like 18, 19 or whatever it is. And there's a girl maybe that I'm talking to or whatever, and I don't really like fancy her, but I know I could get some. There have been times where I've been like, am I really gonna drive 30 minutes, 35 minutes? If I beat my meat, I don't have to like deal with that or even have to deal with the awkwardness of talking and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna beat my meat and go to sleep and avoid save on gas. So no, 100%. And you know, men are super like we try to be super logical. And so if it's convenient, men are gonna You're gonna be attracted to it.
And we also have to take into consideration this red pill movement that's growing in
So you
the
know they all
media.
beating their meat.
And for example, the Fresh and Fit community, the whatever podcast community, all those type of guys that watch that stuff, this may be unfair to them, but I do have this biased view of them. So forgive me if any of those guys come across this clip and they want to leave comments saying, "Oh, you're a hater," or you don't understand." Go ahead and leave those comments. We've seen y'all before. I don't care. They are starting to hate women. Like they're cultivating this hate towards women where they just don't want to interact with them at all because they see them extremely predatory. There are predatory women out there, just like there are predatory men out there. But what the men have to be careful of is not associating that to all women, just like women gotta stop associating that to all men. It's like John said, it's a spectrum. We're on the spectrum of all men are predatory, and all of a sudden, like all men are like, oh man, all women are predatory. It's this view we're having of each other is so warped, and I think that's also facilitating the lack of reproduction because no one wants to interact with each other.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it comes down to. Because the more I've thought about it, where it's just like you have like accessibility of tech, and then you have like the anger of certain views towards women and stuff like that, and it's just like there's so many reasons to like almost like circumvent them, but really you're just gonna have to
Exactly,
talk
because I mean,
directly towards them.
exactly, because I mean, not to call you out, Doc, but like for example, remember that one time Buddy got called because his wife wanted him to come home, and you were like, "Man, I that would bother me to no end." Blah blah blah. Like, but that's part of relationships. Like you're sharing this life with somebody that, like, I would argue that sentiment you shared is very millennial-esque. And that's because we don't harp on what it takes to be in a relationship. Yes, unfortunately, you are going to have to sacrifice some of your personal time with your buddies or just your personal time period for your significant other. And it is what it is. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't feel that way, but sometimes, yeah, you gotta take it to the chin when it comes to those situations.
I would agree with that. I mean, I definitely have my aversions to it, but I also think a lot of it is fueled by the fact that I spend a lot of time by myself. So I don't have other people to consider when I make my decisions. And so
And but that's my point though, is you've nurtured a very individual, self-sufficient lifestyle where you take care of yourself, you support yourself, you literally don't depend on anybody. And you've found comfort in that and you found a coasting place in that. A lot of millennials, specifically men that we're talking about, have found that. When you get with a significant person, a significant other, and you find someone, that definitely throws a wrench in that because now you got to completely reorient how you oriented everything to also factor in them. A lot of men don't want to do that because they're comfortable. And I don't. I guess since I'm sorry for using you as an example, but to continue to use you as an example, that's kind of where you are right now. You have created such a comfortable environment for yourself that you are reluctant to change it up because I'm sure you're aware, because you're a smart guy, that you are aware that if you factor in a girlfriend in the equation, you're going to have to sacrifice your Warhammer times, your fighting game times, your jamming out sessions, like all these things that you a lot times are doing. Some of those either got to go or some of those got to be reduced, and you're reluctant to do that because you enjoy that for yourself.
yeah, I mean,
A
honestly,
lot of guys are in that boat. A lot of guys are in that boat.
honestly, my contemplation for that has been trying to find a girl that agrees with them, that like vibes to them. That way I don't have to sacrifice the time of them, but at the same time also enjoying time with the other person. But like, I mean, who knows? The other person might show me something new that I also enjoy. So that's something I've kind of considered. But yeah, like I don't know, the effects on my decision making, I think, would be the most impactful when it comes to considering another person.
I agree with that because now to put it on me, I had to do the similar stuff because with my girlfriend early on, she liked to dance. She liked to go over to cowboys and country dance, and I'm not a dancer. I mean, I grew up with John. I'm all about the hip hop. You know, I can find a beat and I can get the groove going. But that's the extent of my dancing. Don't you dare look at me like that, John.
I'm saying I'm all about
No, right? He sounded like an old man, bro. He's like,
an undercover cop.
the hip hop. take the hat to
Is
the
this where the drugs are? Okay.
So when I started dating her, I had a lot of time for her to go to these cowboys with her, to meet her friends, to dance, to try something with her that put me out of my comfort zone. And it definitely was out of my comfort zone because I didn't know how to two-step or do any other stuff. And I say this all the time. And I love saying it because it's hilarious, because it's the only time I actually see visibly struggle with patience, because she loves dancing. That's like her thing. So when she dances with me and I'm not able to keep up with her skill, I can visibly see her getting frustrated, and it's so funny. It does bother me a little bit, not negatively, like it makes me feel self-conscious because I feel bad that I'm not able to like be as good as I need to be for her to enjoy dancing. She might not agree with that, or she probably would have disagreed with that. But that's like my perspective of it, because I can literally see on her face the annoyance start to build of me either stepping on her foot or losing the rhythm or not properly getting out of the flow. The flow, what's it called? The
Damn,
flow of the
bro.
liner.
Do you have 2 left feet?
A little bit, I guess. Yeah.
Damn. Think of it like a wrestling match, bro. Move.
Well, I had 2 left feet when I first started wrestling. Also, I don't know how to like drop the knee, shoot in, pick the leg, lift up, and like you have to learn each step one at a time. So it's a process. What I'm saying, like that. My whole point is like I had to factor in what she liked doing and how did I facilitate that. I went to her to Cowboy Dance Hall and I danced, even though I knew nothing at all what I was doing. I knew she's probably gonna get frustrated with me, but she still does it with me because despite the frustration, she wants me to be a part of it. I want to be a part of it. And the inverse of me, I like to have my Warhammer weekends with you guys. I have to sacrifice a lot of the times my Friday nights or sometimes Saturday nights to play with y'all. I remember that one time you text me saying, "Hey, you gonna come?" And I was like, "Nah, I can't. I'm hanging out with the girl tonight." So like, you're like, "Oh, bummer." Like sometimes it happens. That's part of balancing 2 lives into one. I mean, that's kind of why Christians have that mentality of marriage is 2 conjoining into becoming one. For what's the phrasing, for all purposes or whatever, for all set and purposes.
Intensive purposes.
For all intents and thank you, John. For all intents and purposes, that's literally what you're doing in every aspect, in how we communicate, in how we interact, in our hobbies, in how we raise children, structure a family. We're literally becoming one. And how do you test drive that? By going on dates, by hobbies, communicating before you finally get up to the whole marriage thing. Like, and to put a pretty on this entire topic we're talking about, we've completely abandoned that notion because what do we want? We just want pleasure. We just want sex. Yeah, I just want release. That's literally all we are.
Mercy.
Because if
Do
you
you
right
think
now,
do you think the beer is gonna have that same froth at the top when you pour it?
Oh, bro.
And are you okay with a little? Are you okay with a little froth on your top lip after taking a sip?
on that note, I think that's enough fake deep thinking for today, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in and watching Fake Deep Thinking.
I'll
Listen
be
to our outlandish
if I
discussions.
drink that shit and I got
If
a
you
frothy
haven't
lip.
liked the video,
Oh my
please like the video.
god!
my God!
Please leave a comment if you haven't left a comment yet. Join in on these discussions. They are hilarious and they're fun, and they are also controversial and challenging, which we love. And if you love it also, join the community because that's what we're all about. We have a Discord. We're trying to get that popping. We're trying to get a community going where we're talking about stuff like this and everyone feels open expressing that, because if y'all have been with us long enough, you'll see we all have these contentious discussions because we all have different perspectives. We got to be able to navigate these contentious, differing opinion discussion because it's important because it gives us perspective. Now that I did my little rants for our podcast, we see y'all next time on Fake Deep Thinking. Peace.
Peace. Yo, thanks for making it to the end. We really appreciate it and hope you all enjoyed the show.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the notification bell to get notified when we post our clips.
Follow us on Twitter at PodcastFDT. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are all Fake Deep Thinking. Check us out, please.
FDT. Peace, y'all.
Peace.